Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Well, let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Thought Willing and says, am I the asshole for divorcing during my husband's mental health crisis? Me, 38 female, and my husband, 38 male. Married since 2009, and we have a preteen daughter. Last 3 years have been really tough on us because of my husband's bad working conditions that started to affect his mental health. I noticed signs of burnout and depression and brought up these concerns regularly to him. He was very dismissive and refused to see his situation and refused therapy. He started becoming distant and often isolated himself and was regularly butting heads with our daughter. He eventually told me that he had met a woman at work. Their relationship was not, according to him, physical, but he was in love with her, and he felt that she was his soulmate and best friend. He said he was very sorry that he could not decide which woman he would ultimately be happiest with. He spoke out about this at home whilst I was having the toughest time of my life. I cried alone over my dreams and plans, everything we had together. He also told me that in order to clear his head, he would need to leave the house and spend some time on his own. Pat's co-worker had offered him her spare room and he was going to take it. I asked for his help organizing the rest of the school year as I was commuting, and I promised him that as soon as the school year was over, I would look for an apartment closer to my work and me and our daughter will move out and he can have the house to himself for his healing. I found an apartment almost immediately and we moved. He visited us one weekend a month and brought his chaos with him every time. The new home had become a safe haven that we cherished, and he took it over as soon as he appeared. And it felt like I wasn't breathing until he finally left. After 6 months of living like this, I decided I'd given things enough time to mend, and they had not. I was still hurt and bitter, and he was still cagey about what was going on and what his ultimate decision really was. I told him I was done living like this and that I wanted a divorce. He absolutely lost his shit and left and drove back to our old house in the middle of the night just to get away from me. A week later, he told me the co-worker is pregnant. He was angry that I didn't even want to try and fix our marriage. Since then, he's gotten increasingly more hostile and accusatory in his communication with me. He blames me for breaking up the marriage and abandoning him during his crisis. He says he was not himself and has no idea why he did the things he did, but that I was the one who left. He claims I was no help when he needed me and that I'd clearly mentally abandoned our relationship long before, more than 3 years prior. He tells me I'm cold and calculating and clearly not the person he thought I was. I understand that he is not well. He finally did go to therapy. I explained a lot of his actions with that in mind at first. So, am I the arsehole he claims I have become, taking his daughter away and leaving? And there was a comment which Opie replied to and gave some additional information. The comment said, you took your daughter and yourself from an unstable living situation. Sure, maybe it had become stable tomorrow, but you gave it a lot of time. His mental health crisis may mean he's out of his mind, but either he's still responsible for his actions or he's not. If he is, you left him because of his actions. Seems reasonable. If he's not responsible for his actions and you left him because he's deeply in a crisis for an extended period and you can't continue to live that way, or have your daughter live that way. I'm curious and concerned about your daughter's experience of this. Those are the people my heart goes out to the most. Your daughter and your husband's new child. Because everyone else, arsehole or not, was some form of volunteer for this. The kid gets no choice, but all of the consequences. But I don't think leaving your husband while he's in a crisis is unacceptable, especially given the long duration and terrible experience for you of that crisis. Not the arsehole. OP responds saying, honestly, it's our daughter I'm mostly worried about in all this. He clearly has changed a lot, no matter how much his mental health plays into it. Everything we used to be so much of one mind has changed for him. He will not keep his opinions to himself when our daughter visits him, and honestly, I'm left to pick up the pieces when she comes back and slowly opens up to what her father has been talking during his visit. I'm really trying my best not to ever speak ill of him in front of her. I basically keep my family in the dark because I don't want them to have an attitude towards him that could reflect on her. He seems to have no such issues, as I'm slowly finding out. He chews me up in private conversations, which I can deal with, but he also says stuff like, after your mother kicked me out, I can't help you anymore, and all I want is to have our family back, to our daughter, and I feel that's horribly unfair. He's really wallowing in his misery right now, and I still have sympathy for him, but he is burdening his daughter and painting me as an absolute villain. He still hasn't told her about the new baby, and I'm a little at loss about what to do about it. Beck 2010 says you attempted to help him multiple times, and multiple times he shut you out, instead of seeking help or getting a new job. Your soon-to-be ex decided the correct path was an emotional affair that led to a physical affair. There's absolutely no reason to feel guilty about divorcing this guy. Not the arsehole. Stop indulging him. Coordinate his visitation with your daughter through an app. Do not discuss anything else. Keep all communication written. Stop second-guessing yourself. You have nothing to feel guilty about. Opie says thank you for your answer. I've actually noticed that keeping all our communication in writing has helped me deal with all of this better. I feel like my thoughts stay more structured and I can choose to respond or not, depending if I feel too insulted or triggered in the moment. It helps me keep civil. I personally feel like I tried my best to help him. I was truly devoted and very much still in love, but he sees it very differently, and it's hard for me to reconcile between those two completely different stories. Status Pattern says, not the arsehole, he cheated on you. He moved in with another woman. He didn't care about how his actions hurt you or your family. He didn't care about your child. You owe him nothing. Love and Info says, you are not the arsehole. Wow, the nerve of this guy. And now the other woman is pregnant too. You need out of this marriage faster than a speeding rocket. Then you need to move into a place he can't find. Take your life back into your own hands and let the co-worker have him. Good riddance. Opening Park says, not the arsehole. Having a mental health crisis isn't an excuse or free pass to be a shitty person. He created this mess. He made his bed, so now he gets to lay in it. You owe him nothing. It's time to put you and your daughter first. Don't feel guilty. You tried to be there for him and help him and give him support. He chose to have an emotional affair that turned physical and has now resulted in a baby. If he really expects you to stick around and wait on him to decide which woman he wants to be with, he's delusional as fuck. So OP does come back in with an update and says, hello, am I the arsehole? I've been reading all the comments on the original post and tried to answer as many of the questions as I could. The original post can be found through my user page. I wanted to write an update since my post seemed to raise some questions, and also thank you for your engagement on the post. It has meant a lot to me. You've given me good advice, some really good things to think about, and some tough love and criticism I surely needed. Thank you so much. The divorce is in process, and I have not seen him in person for some 4 months at this point. He mostly keeps radio silence until it seems he has to unload some hurt on me. I've kept my contact to him to a minimum, only ever messaging him things regarding our daughter or requesting him to react to our official paperwork or to his electricity bills that I've transferred to him. Due to the circumstances in which we started this separation originally, I paid most of his living expenses, mainly since I have a steady job and get paid double his salary. He is still very much incapacitated by his mental health issues and wanted to alleviate some of the practical matters for him. Now that we are pulling everything apart, he has been, maybe purposefully, making this into a very slow and frustrating process. Currently I still pay for his electricity and he reimburses those bills for me at the end of each month. Sometimes he needs encouraging. Usually this leads to him messaging me all day, usually complaints on how I'm now raising our daughter, now that I have made him obsolete, his words, telling me to get a new dad to help me with the job as soon as possible. He seems to try very hard to push my buttons by saying things like, it must be very hard for you to send your daughter to someone who you loathe and hate so much. And if I make the mistake of losing my temper, even for one curse word, he will turn immediately and tells me to calm down, stop spitting acid, and maybe we should continue our discussion when I'm not so wound up. I've mainly chosen to not engage in these conversations when they start going off the rails. I have all of his outbursts in writing. I'm also currently under the impression that the co-worker is not interested in a relationship with him anymore. And all of those who asked, yes, the baby is his by his own word. He still has not told our daughter about any of it. I've chosen to give him an ultimatum on the matter. I will bring it up one more time that we have our official meeting with our child welfare officer next month. That's the official route where we live. and if he still refuses, I will take it to myself to tell our daughter the truth. So many of you have encouraged me to do this for her sake and for the sake of our relationship, and I thank you for sharing your experiences with me. I've also contacted her school therapist and the curator and informed them of the issues she is facing now and the ones still to come. I'm hoping they will offer her some scheduled help since I know she is shy on telling me everything. She is the most important thing in my life, and as sorry as I am for her having to go through this essentially because of my choices, I refuse to take all the blame now, and I'm ready to shift it where it belongs. Personally, I'm a much happier person these days. I feel bursts of gratefulness and true happiness these days just by watching her eat dinner and talk to me about her day at the dinner table, in our clean and peaceful home. Even my houseplants are thriving, as silly as it sounds. I finally opened up about all of this to some of my friends and my siblings, and they've all been super supportive. My siblings were clearly shocked, but both did bring up that they are somehow not surprised that it all went this way. They seem to have seen things a bit more clearly from afar, just like this community did. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I feel like my daughter and me are going to be just fine in the end. A couple of comments on this one which OP responds to. Someone says, I actually laughed out loud at he told OP his affair partner was pregnant, but he can't believe OP doesn't want to fix the marriage in the same breath. Like, buddy, do you hear yourself? OP says, honestly at that point I'd already made up my mind, and when I sat there and listened to his rant, I got the feeling that so much more was to come. When he finally told me about the pregnancy, I nearly laughed out loud myself. It was so absurd that it felt like the whole drama had been turned into a farce. Like people would never believe me if I told the whole story. And with the reaction, I realized that I was mentally in a better place, one foot out the door and not ever going back. This was not my shit show to deal with anymore. Another user says, stop paying the electricity bill. Stop being sympathetic or empathetic with him. Do not engage. You need to do this for yourself. You owe that to yourself. OP says, my friends have also told me to just drop the electricity contract from my plan and have him figure it out. Logically, I know it takes one call for him to make a new contract. He gives me excuses I know are false, but since I also know how passive his mental health issues have made him and how insurmountable small things can become, I find it so difficult to do this and go back on my word. There is also the fear how making our currently bad relationship even worse will inevitably reflect on our daughter and getting through all the legalities. I can't wait until it's all done and dusted. OP updates again and says, hello Reddit, it's been months since my original post and update. People were very nice to me and offered me really good advice and lots of emotional support and needed criticism. I took a lot of it to heart and made good progress for my daughter and myself. I finally separated the rest of our finances, stopped paying his bills and made official agreements on child support and custody, which remain shared for now, as he went back on his word to give it to me uncontested. He did not agree to sign an official visitation agreement because he cannot commit to it right now. I offered him every other weekend and half of all holidays. He has started to meet our daughter more often, though since nowadays she actually visits him on her own free will. It seems that the relationship has gotten a bit better lately, which I'm of course happy about. He's been absolutely terrible towards me though. He started a campaign of passive-aggressive texting after I asked him to be civil. Now every message is overtly syrupy and filled with overflowing apologies. I ignored this until he decided to talk to me face to face when we went to sign the agreement. He told me his therapist told him to talk to me for closure and speak his mind. So he did. He once again just explained to me how hard the last year has been and how I tore the marriage apart. How he was not ready to accept this divorce and never will be. How nothing in his current life is what he wanted or asked for and considered it an insult if I congratulated him over the upcoming baby, etc. This felt really off considering he had just moved in with her affair partner. He originally tried to hide this too and was evasive, but of course our daughter found out the next time she visited and also told me. I know it is pointless, but I felt I needed to say something too, so I told him that he completely continues to ignore all my pain and the mental work I had to do over this whole thing, and I can't help the fact that my love died in the process. He says I didn't even try. He said that even my parents were more supportive of him because they had exchanged pleasantries having met briefly a few weeks prior. His co-workers were more supportive than me. I told him to look in the mirror and that his little passive-aggressive game was so obvious. Clearly it hit home because he stopped immediately after. He has also been snooping over my dating life through our daughter and is very jealous, says so, and gets very verbally aggressive over it. Now, the thing that brought me back to you here tonight is that despite my life having turned so much better in the last few months and me and my daughter have been happier than in a long while, I fell into an unexpected hole today. He was supposed to have her over this weekend but ended up cancelling. The reason he gave me was different than what he gave our daughter, so I knew he lied to someone. Yesterday he blew up on me over text that originally started a discussion over our daughter's visits. He started the same old song of me being so petty over such minor things as his affair. That was apparently not even a real affair at first. He wrote that my parents were right about me being too sensitive. He knows how low of a blow this is since he has been supporting me through my issues with my parents invalidating all of my gripes my whole life with "you are too sensitive." I told him how low that was and that he does not get to quantify my pain, and he totally lost his marbles to the point where I had to stop reading his messages because I was afraid I would start to cry in the office. This morning our daughter runs to me crying happy tears and jumping of joy. The father had sent her pictures of the newly born little sister. I congratulated the new official older sister and we gushed over the pictures a little. Throughout the day my mood has just been awful. I've gotten messages from my family asking how I am, because daughter of course told everyone, which is totally okay, but it's starting to weigh on me. I've been tired and easily irritated. All of a sudden I felt like I had no one to talk to, no one who would really understand, someone unbiased, an adult to talk to. Those have been my hardest moments in all of this. I lost my best friend when we fell apart, and whenever I feel I really need to open up and spill my heart, it reminds me of how alone I feel. Is it a normal reaction? I've been fine and very emotionally cut off from him for so long, and somehow the birth of this baby sent me into this sudden nosedive today. I felt like I needed to tell all of this in my lowest point in a long while. So thank you for reading. If I fail at linking my previous posts here, please look at my original profile. They are my only posts. Thank you and happy upcoming holiday season, everyone. Oh, that last update absolutely broke my heart. OP feeling so alone in all this. It says an awful lot on Reddit. I hope OP does talk to a therapist to talk about all this, because none of this is right for them. Because I feel like, although they're getting some great advice in the comments, I feel like someone needs to tell them face to face that this is not right, and they need to be like almost grey rocking this guy, because he's unhealthy in her life. And I do worry for the future for OP and for daughter as well, because I can't help but feel like one day daughter is going to recognize what the behavior that this guy's been showing, mentally ill or not. This person's been gaslighting OP in the background for a long time, and the lack of responsibility from this guy is just mind-blowing. That turns it all on OP every single time, that somehow this is OP's fault that they split up. What the hell? And it sounds like now he's weaponizing OP's past potential traumas against her as well. Like I said, I also worry about the daughter, what the daughter's being told in the background, what other people were being told in the background from this guy. You know, he's willing to do this to her. I hope she keeps all these messages and continues to document them, because I just feel like one day this is all going to blow. There's only so much of that shit that you can take before you think, you know, fuck this, I've had enough of it. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? What would you advise OP if they was in front of you right now? Last bit really upset me actually. Anyway, I'm gonna turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. It's absolutely amazing. And don't forget, at the very end of the video there'll be a couple of playlists there that you can click on, and it will automatically keep scrolling through all those videos for you. So for whatever you're up to, thank you so much the other day for sharing all your pictures celebrating Thanksgiving. It was absolutely amazing. The food, man, oh my word. Thank you so much, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care. Much love.